Hello, welcome to the Organic Shits channel. My name is Fernando, and today I will introduce you to another video of Excel VBA. Anyone who follows the channel knows that I like productivity tools very much, and not for nothing, I recently developed 11 guides there, right? An Excel supplement with some features, some productivity related tools that help me a lot in my day-to-day, and I have made available for free to you. It's no different this time, is it? I saw myself in a need to automate some processes, some repetitive work processes, and I created this automation, this RPA, and I will also provide it to you, right? If you like this content, I ask you to shorten the video, okay? So I'm going to do the following. I'm going to ask you to like the video at this time, and if at some point you think the content is not relevant, you take your favorite, that's good, so you like it now. That you do not forget and leave your comment so I know if it is helping you or not. This tool is also okay, of course, leaving suggestions, compliments if you like. I read all the comments. It took me a little time to reply for personal reasons because of career changes, but I usually read all of them and reply to all of them, okay? Well, let's go. My goal is to automate any repetitive routine, right? So I'm going to show you here, try to show the application in its full functionality, and then I'll explain the code to you in this video, okay? So basically you can download the file. I will leave the link in the description. For those who don't know how to install, I will leave the link here from the Organic Sheet supplement where you can download and install there. I will explain it in this video here. I will explain to you only about the functionality itself. So basically it is a supplement called RPA them. It allows you to record step by step, right? Your mouse clicks and text input typing, and then you can play this routine as many times as you think it is necessary, right? So it can be efficient. Much depends on your need. Come on, I'm gonna try to play it here right now, the computer. With this file, with our OBS recording system, it is not so optimized, so it may be a little crashing, right? Come on. The first step you will take is to record a routine. This routine, it is written to a text file, and you can then play several different types of routine. So come on, I will click here on this file to record, and then automatically it will open a dialog box so that I can store this file where it will be recorded the tables, instructions. I will call it test. I had already done some tests there. I will call it test, and I will click save. From that moment on, our RPA he's recording the executions. Right? I mean, actually it starts recording when I use one of these three controls here. When I press the F10 key of my keyboard, it records a mouse click. When I press the F9 key, it records a text input, right? If I press F6 it for recording, then for example here I could click. In my Google Chrome, you can use the mouse and press the F10 key, right? So if I pause the mouse here up in that direction and press the F10 key, it will appear this little box where it appears. Enter a delay in milliseconds. So I left here in standard milliseconds, I left 11.5 seconds. So every time I can put a longer delay here. If so, then I will click there depending on the loading of a page, loading some functions of my system. I can put a delay slightly longer than 5 seconds, put 5,000 in the case of 10 seconds, put 1,000, always in the ratio of 1,000. That's good. So here I will give a OK. So in theory, I simulate that. He will click here. After he does this click, we will be able to select, pause the mouse here above the search button and press again. Of 10, and then you see that when I pressed of 10 that he did my Excel, he started flashing here. If I click Excel, you will see that it records one more click, right? So I'm going to leave the 1.5 pattern, and in theory I'm going to be clicking here and here. I can type something, right? And then I press the F9 key. When I press the F9 key, my Excel, it too. I captured the record, and now my text box says enter a text to store. So I'm going to type organic shit here, right? So organic shits, I will give an OK there I would be practically typing, and I will click here in search. So I will press an F10 before clicking. See that Excel here recognized the click, right? Then another 1.5 seconds after that click. When I click, it will wait another 1.5 seconds. You can see that it is taking a little longer. So actually it should be a little longer anyway. And here I can already see the videos. I think this is enough for you, okay? Let me close here, okay? Beauty, I'm going to any other page here. Yes, I can press the F6 key, right? When I press the F6 key, the recording, it was terminated by the user, and now I can perform this recording by clicking here. In Run, it will automatically open a file, a directory, and I can select any routine. So I can write routine, a routine 2, routine 3. This test routine is my routine, so I can give an open and then automatically, it starts to automatically run what I had already done. So I wrote organic sheets and researched here for me, beauty. So it's a pretty simple routine, but what he managed to do is execute it with skill, and that's where he will give that the operation was successfully completed. I just put the default mouse click. What about text input? My idea is to improve this by putting the escrow option, right? For him to record, when we go to do the escrow, is to record in a more dynamic way without having to be tight, of 10 perhaps. I don't know, I haven't thought how to do it yet, even because I would like to record also the double click of the mouse, and the right click eventually can be interesting. If anyone wants to, I invite you to take the code, leave the code open. And I invite you to improve that code, right? Make the necessary adaptations with me, share with me, so that I can bring a new updated version there. That's good, so let's go. If you look at the test file here, let me see it here. It's in the file. Test file, can you see here it? It's just coding, isn't it? Here you have the size of the mouse, right? The coordinates of the mouse. Here in the third argument is the time he will wait until he executes the next ODVI action in the case, and here the last argument would be the text to type, right? So you can see that here he makes one click on a certain point of the screen. Here he makes another click on a certain point of the screen. Here he makes one click and enters what's written here in the fourth argument, which is the organic heats. And finally, he makes another click. So it's 4 steps that he does in an orderly manner. Okay, and then we go to the code to explain to you how it's done and pass the documentation to you. Come on, let me open it here, beauty. Now that I opened here the file. No, who was wondering how I put that reborn here, right? This is my add-on here in Excel's default menu. Yes, I suggest you watch this video, and I will leave the link in the description, right? You will see how I use it, including I use another supplement to do it, right? In a simpler way, then I will leave the link here in the description, and let's go to the code, right? So the code is basically that, right? This one here is my project, this one here is mine, my automation, my RPA, and it has nothing more than 2 modules, one callback module. This callback module is nothing more. So you can call these scripts, right? Then write the script and I execute the operation according to the buttons that are there in my ribbon, and the codes are these. So first, what am I doing here? I have declared some variables that I use in my project, some Windows variables, and have already left custom for 64-bit version and 32-bit version, right? Which is what the people ask me to do. I put some constants in relation to mouse clicks. And I put here another 11, in short, another variable statement to get the XY axis of my screen position from my computer, right? So when I click the button on the record button, it will run this sub here, and I will click here to let us see this sub so that we can understand. So I declare some variables that I use, right? I'm not very much into declaring variables, including this one here. Turns out I did some tests and didn't use it. So I'm not a person who documents my codes very well, but I tried to do it from here, right? Because the idea is that you guys can help me there too. Basically, I call a variable called file path. She's a variant, isn't she? And then I call there save the fills. So basically, I will save a text file. So I will start saving the text file. It already comes standard economy or SRP text, but has the option to change. He comes in with a test filter, all right. And if the file path was equal to false, that is if the person did not give a cancel. If the person cancels the operation, he will say he will get out of this routine, right? You're gonna leave the operation here and you're not gonna do anything. In case not. If the person has saved the file there, we will take this file and we'll open this file for data input so that from here I open that file. It's usually in the background, isn't it? It doesn't show up, it doesn't get visible, but I open it so I can go and store information inside it, and I'm storing it. It's not common, is it? And then I start looping, right? A loop here, and I put the events because I need him to listen, right? Let Excel be aware of the events that are happening, the clicks, so that it can store everything correctly. And here basically what I do 111 get, right? This from here is like Windows ape, where I can listen no OOBBA, it can listen when some key in particular was clicked on the keyboard. In case here I chose the key F10, so if F10 was different from 0, that is if of 10 was clicked at some point in this loop, I take the cursor, get the cursor point, then this point from here, if you look, yes, he's like 11, my variant, my bridge matrix API. So basically I take the Cartesian point, let's say, rearrange my coordinates, and I put the X point, the Y point, right? And then I can extract the dimension XA, which would be the position of my mouse on the screen. Then I create an input box asking what delay, and then by default he comes with 1500. But you have the option to change there, which would be the delay for him to wait until he executes the next click, right? So from the first, for him to run the next click, between the first and the second click, he will have a delay, and then I print it on my file, right? I opened my txt with coordinates separated by delay, which will be the delay of the team. This is from this input box, it is end. Another comma with nothing after that would be the text, but remember that of 10, it will only serve for clicking, so it does not serve for text, so it is empty here, and I need to keep the same dimensions, 4 columns separated by. Now here below is case RPA-OS VBA. He listens to click on the FF key 9, and the F9 key is already different. I will do the same thing. I will capture the point on the axis of my screen so that I can identify the position of my mouse, and now I ask for an input box to type the text to be stored. Then in this option you will type the text you want to enter in your information, and then see that it will print in from this file of mine where is he going to put the coordinates of where my mouse was, and it is a delay of 1 second. So this is the default delay, but you can also change it if you want to store the text and the delay and link the text entered in my input box to the text itself. Now, if he listens to the F6 key being pressed, he will close, he will say a message that the recording has been closed by the user. Anyway, he will exit this loop, right? What do you give? And then you're going to close the file, right? Crossing a file, that's where it closes and saves the file. So basically, this is my first operation. It does a reading of the clicks of the F10, F9, EF6 key, and I chose these keys because the ultras have shortcuts in Excel itself. So it ends up creating, right? I was using F11, which creates 11 macro spreadsheet anyway, and that wouldn't be interesting. 10, F9 EF6, right? They even have shortcuts, but nothing that would be detrimental to execution. Finally, I will do there perform the operation. So when I click here for him to do the operation, it's let's go. When I click here for it to perform the operation, I will do almost the same process. I will show here to you. So let's go. What does he do? I declare the variables here. Certinho, right? If there is an error, I will let him go to the next one, and then I will see if the file I open there, 111 get open file name. So that is, it will open a dialog box for me to select text. I put a txt filter, so that is, it will only get txt files there in my folder that would be my script. There I will run, and there if the file is different from empty, then it will run something. Then here it will open the file for reading the coordinates. So he opens the right file here. He starts reading the coordinates, right? And storing it in an array. So I'm going to do one for array, right? Here I start reading the coordinates in my document, and I will record them in this king, and then I will execute according to the king. So basically I get there, I put in memory of my Excel execution, and in that memory I run that there is here below. And then I close my file, right? Then I do the file opening, read all the data that is there, and close my file. After I do that, I start to perform the operation, right? So I run with starting with 0 until finally the coordinates that I have there, and then I start declaring some variables here that I had forgotten to declare up there, and I start executing, right? So basically I put here another variant called coordinate, being that it's got this whole coordinate matrix, and I put the parts, right? So the parts they go to are also 11 to the king, a library. They will give a split in my coordinates, that all my files that were in the king, they will give a split by this. So you stop by, then I have X as part 0, A as part 1, delay as part 2, and finally part 3 as the text to be typed, right? We will see that further ahead. And here for some reason I put here the point X is equal X point Y, right? There will be a point Y is equal to Y, can use XA here, but in the end, let me improve this code here, and then I will improve, and in the final version, you should have improved. So basically I read there, and when I see there's something there, I run a click, right? Then left down, left up. It's like I press the mouse, which is left down, left up, like I release the mouse, so I press and release the mouse, right? The normal movement then simulates the mouse click here, and I do the reading then of the event so that this click is effectively done, right? Because unless the loop is running simultaneously, it will not run. And then I give a sleep delay, so that is I give 11 delay waiting time, I use this sleep. Instead of application hate, which is application hate, the minimum I can use 1 second, JLIP I can use half a second, 1/3 of a second. If that's the case, if it's a pretty fast execution, then that JLIP is of this variable here. Oh, kernel JLIP variable 32, good. So beautiful. So I hope. So every time I see that I have a coordinate here in particular, I run it, it's right, and I give the delay. And then I give a check, if part 3, which would be the text to type, is different from blank, then I send a sandy case application part 3, so that is I will type the one that was proposed to type. I waited a second, and then I also clicked the enter button, and I gave one of the same events here, so I could actually type this, okay? And then I give you the same, and then one more. and I run again, was looping. Only before looping, I check to see if it was pressed the F6 key. Because if the F6 key was pressed, I will give a user terminated execution, a message, and I will give one the. So I do this because you will record wrong, realize that the windows were not in the correct position. Anyway, and you don't want to finish the execution or stop the execution, so you press 1F, 1 or 1F6 actually, and then the execution, Excel, it will stop running that automation, right? If it's a longer automation, and then after he finishes this looping, he will give here operation was completed successfully, so he ends there. The same execution appeared to me, this else if here. He starts here, from this if here, from above, if the file is different from empty. Because if the file is empty, if the person opens here and does not select any file to run, I will come directly down here and give a message saying that the operation has been cancelled by the user. If the person selects a file and he has to go in the right mold, he will run everything the right way, right? And then you also understand a little of this dynamic. You can come here and edit your ordinations, right? For example, I could come here and that's where I asked him to write organic sheets. I will ask him to write VBA. So, I could do this, save, could change, instead of waiting a minute and a half, wait a minute longer. The only thing I don't know is the correct XY coordinates of my mouse, okay? And then I put it to run again, and I leave a repetitive routine, and I can put it to run. That's still happening right now, isn't it? It's in the testing phase, but it's already starting to work for me. I hope it's working for you, and as I said, I invite you to subscribe to the channel for those who have not written it, because I bring videos here with content that I try to bring in a different way, right? I don't always get 100%, but the idea is this. Try to bring a differentiated content to you and leave your comments with suggestions about that file. Video suggestions too. What are we trying to develop together? And who wants to make some adjustments to the code? Anyone who makes an adaptation that you think is relevant can talk to me there in the Telegram group. Then we made 11 other video reviews showing these new features. Well, I want to thank everyone who has watched it. Until next week. Valeu e ciao ciao.